Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another session of Chronicles of Darkness, Vampire the Requiem, Requiem for London. And no, the Blitz has not happened. We shall set our scene one, maybe two nights after the rather revelatory Venture meeting. One ex-captain, Marcus Irons, has decided that before he gets in contact with his fellow clanmates for a mission of rather reasonable importance, he decided that he'd like to check up on his old friend Julian, see how he's doing, giving him a little bit of company, as friends do. So a few nights back, he went into one of those traditional, nice, or almost stereotypical red phone boxes that in 2010 not only can still be found in London, but actually can be used for telephone calls. Shock horror. For the sake of lesser traceability, he has given his old friend a telephone call and also asked if he would like Marcus to organize any creature comforts that he wished. Julian was so nice to oblige, and we find ourselves at the current night. It's a relatively balmy summer's night. Marcus has just come out of a Tesco, is holding a rather big cool box on one side, and is holding the leash to on which attached is his old trusty companion and now fully grown Rhodesian Ridgeback, Rusty. Marcus makes his way through alleys and sideways until Julian can hear a knock on the door.
He will open the door, man. Actually have a genuine smile on his face. And goes, "My dear brother Gilgamesh," as he presents his hand to shake it.
Marcus just does a slightly awkward moving the the leash from the right hand into his left and offers his hand also with a genuine smile. "Ah, my brother Enkidu, I hope the night finds you well," and gives it a good solid shake.
Things have been improving, actually. Do please come in.
Oh, definitely. I hope you don't mind. I took the liberty of taking Rusty with me. Poor fellow was going half mad, being stuck at home so long.
Yeah,
And
he
he
nods to
enters.
that.
He enters. The door closes. He looks at Rusty. Gives him a few hand signs and a nod, and Rusty will just tail-waggingly go closer to Julian, seeming to be rather happy, and looking at him and sniffing at him.
He let him do that. He lets him do that and kind of scratches behind Rusty's ears.
Rusty's tail wagging increases because you've hit just the sweet spot. Before Marcus snaps his finger and the dog alertly goes right beside his master. Right. Yeah, the sofa. And Marcus will walk, plop himself down, and put a big cool box in front of the two kindred. There you go. As ordered, I took the liberty of adding 2 more classic Cokes, and the cherries are in the ice as well.
Thank you. And he will pull out a glass from a disheveled cabinet and begins pouring himself a glass and presents one to you and goes, "Would you like some?"
Oh, yes, please.
And he'll begin pouring the second glass and somewhat filling the bottom of the cup with the cherries, and presents one to puts one to Marcus, and then he'll take his, and he'll begin sipping from it and say, so it's been some time since our last talk. How's the night been
Yeah.
treating you?
On the whole, pretty well, and let's just say the Ventro clan meeting was eventful, but but you know what? I'd rather first like to hear from you before I divulge things that I probably shouldn't be divulging. He says with an almost trickster-like grin as he sips the coke and nods approvingly. I've forgotten. The cherries give it a nice after flavor.
He kind of raises an eyebrow a little bit. Not saying what he says unheard of, but more. You sure you should be telling me about clan business?
Let's put it that way. I trust you more than I trust my clan mates. Mind you, I won't go into too deep a detail, but I definitely like your take on it. Two brains are better than one.
He nods to that. And he'll go on and say, let's just say, no, it's no reason to try to beat around the bush. I'm bad at it anyways.
Yeah, you rather tend to rip out the bush and beat people with it. Pardon the jest.
But it makes it so clear about my intent. But jokes aside, there's been movement from the Lankea directly against the Ordo.
I've been hearing rumors, mostly sticking to my neck of the woods.
Well, I can promise you these are no rumors. This is a fact. I've been established to protect and eliminate a particular member of the Ordo and eliminate a group of Lankea.
Well, it is civil war. There are bound to be bodies hitting the floor.
Problem is, are we not in a somewhat pseudo-alliance with few other members? If it's discovered that we are killing their covenant mates, their laymen of their church, they may look at us differently.
Huh. Okay. You're probably not at liberty to divulge why that's happening, but...
As far as I've been told, they have been spying on this particular Ordo and making, let's just say, raking attempts on his territory. They have already proven that their intent is hostile. So, as a favor to him, as a favor to my sire, I am to make sure they don't do anything worse and make sure to bring back their ashes to him so he can have rest with peace of mind.
Understood. They could have also just left well enough alone. But, choices and consequences.
And as far as I know, these aren't just fledglings. These are honorary members of the Lankea. They will be trained, and their intent is clear. But if I remember correctly, you are interested in being a layman of the church, not necessarily joining them, but at least paying lip service. And we are acquaintances to Miss Barnett, Farthingale, and Baneforth.
Yeah. Well, I was given assurances that he looks around. Yeah. I've been given assurances that our little worm's nest is to be left alone.
Left alone or not, they're attacking the Ordo, and
And no, I have not paid lip service to them yet, and so far I haven't been approached either. So I decided to let sleeping dogs lie and see how the chips fall, how the dice roll, and how the situation might shift.
he nods. I've been debating whether or not if I should inform them out of personal courtesy. Obviously, professional-wise, they don't need to hear about this, but we're more than professional with those particular three.
Well, yeah. Fighting alongside someone does tend to create a certain bond of camaraderie that is hard to break. He smiles a rather sad smile, clearly talking of experience.
And he continues, and another particular MVP has gone missing. More than missing, he's been eliminated.
Out of character, what is an MVP?
Oh, most viable person.
Thank you. Are you at liberty to divulge who that is?
The name escapes me, but it's a Nosferatu of the Ordo. He has been killed for one reason or another. I was originally tasked with that, but I wasn't sure if I was supposed to kill him or not, but nonetheless, he is dead. And they didn't tell me who did it. So it didn't seem to, I guess, annoyed that this particular Nosferatu's death has happened. So I assume it's in our favor, but I was curious if you knew anything.
Interesting. I've been hearing murmurings that Nosferatu was, how should I say? Yeah, come on, let's. You're right. Time for me to take the bush and whack people with it, metaphorically speaking. Yeah, I heard of him, and I also heard that there were plenty in our Ordo who were rather happy that he apparently got what he had coming to him. He was messing about and not working in our Covenant's interest. That is what I heard. But then again, harder facts like names and what exactly he or she were doing weren't told to me.
I see. Then
He takes another sip of the Coke. Really have to put some cherries in my Coke once in a while. This is nice.
It's an old way of drinking it, and they have cherry Cokes that are pre-made, but they're not the same. But one of my previous assignments, I captured, if I remember correct, I think they might have been Carthians. Maybe Linkea. Nonetheless, they have been captured and interrogated. At least one of them was. The other one ran, so I may have to deal with that later.
Loose ends, as usual. I'm not blaming you. I'm just stating the facts here, as I'm wont to do.
No, you're right. I would have chased her down, but the mortals were starting to take notice of our activities, and I won't deny it. The other one, which I assume was a Deva, he was unusually skilled with vigor.
More a bruiser than a charmer, most likely.
Well, he nearly punched me out of the building, so I will take that as a yes.
Yeah, not to be underestimated, those Devas, that's for sure.
But outside of this particular Lankea hit squad that I need to deal with soon, There is also the matter of, and he hesitates for a moment, and almost it looks like he's trying to push the words out of his mouth. Then he continues, of a particular group that Nikolai has asked me to intervene with him with. Yeah. If I remember right, he might have told us about a particular security company that's controlled by the
Oh,
Indians.
say no more. I thoroughly recall that conversation.
So he hasn't
Yeah.
asked me to come to his aid quite yet, but I know I'll be there.
Hmm.
And you still need help moving your friend's body.
Yeah. Yeah. Unexpectedly, two goals, one personal and one that was laid in front of me, might convene, funnily enough. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk with you about. But yes, thank you for remembering.
So it is important to you, so I was more than willing to remember it.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Gauntlet. I don't know if in the meantime you have furthered any of your studies in the mysteries or not.
I've been getting favor back by the Ordo with my recent excursions, which I'm happy that they are more or less seeing me as what I was, or not necessarily what I was, what I am. It was a mistake, a big one, but a mistake nonetheless. They know my intentions for the Ordo is true.
Good. That's the no. Happy to hear that. There's nothing worse than the team that you're batting for double guessing your motivation.
But when it comes to my studies of late, I would say, damn you book. I look for the actual official word. Yeah. I hate when I go too far.
No problem. In the meantime, Marcus has popped one of those plastic outfoldable bowls and produces a water bottle and puts it there and puts it in front of Rusty, who happily starts lapping it up.
There it is. Yeah. I am considered an initiate now.
Out of character, what does that mean? I know Marcus would know all the titles and stuff and blah.
Yeah. It means I have four ranks in a coil.
Ah, excellent. So the same level I have. In the meanwhile, and I'm happy to disclose that to you, not only am I an initiate of the Banes, but I've already managed to get to the second level of Zenitra. I'm slowly getting a better grip on my ability. Out of character, that being the one that allows you to gain human supernatural merits again.
He nods to that and says, "You're more than just simply that. You're technically, because I forgot, it's not in a coil, it's coils, as in how many ranks you have in
Coils, yes.
But no, you're technically, you're actually a master now. Right.
And he mulls that over, and I like the sound of that. But yes, others seek temporal power, their little empires of dirt. I seek true power, knowledge. But I'm more than happy to just see all my most of my other clanmates just go for their frivolous pursuits. It means I've got less competition when the chips are down.
I know of Alicide, which I haven't seen in quite some time, and the Miss Rose, if I remember right.
Yeah, funnily enough, I haven't seen hide nor hair of her. I was mildly disappointed not to see her at the meeting either.
So I'm curious, who did you see? There's venture all over the city, but I'm curious who showed up.
Mm. Well, I was actually quite surprised to get an invite on the first place. Let's just say, as far as in-clan ranking goes, I'm almost a nobody.
But you're apparently a somebody to somebody.
Yeah. Mind you, the following things that I'm going to divulge are going to remain between the two of us.
So, and he nods that.
Good. Not that I take you for a snitch. Not by a long shot. I've got the feeling you'd probably be more willing to murder a few people before ratting me out. I, at the very least, would do that for you. But of course, the great and the probably not so good of my clan had the meeting. It was your classic boardroom, to say the least, and let's just say I was pretty low down the table, but it is what it is. Reminded me actually a bit of our old staff meetings. Anyway, I digress. Things were talked about, just sort of the usual politicking, and I met two further members of my covenant of the Order Recall there. One, a very well respected fellow, and another one, a face that I hadn't seen before. He was a rather corpulent fellow. If I had to guess, of the Macellarius bloodline. The fellow introduced himself as Ronnie Chonk of interesting family name, but a Cockney geezer if I ever knew one. And charming enough fellow. We were hitting it off reasonably well. But anyway, turns out the guy who I thought was going under the name Allsop has recently resurfaced. Apparently, he hadn't been around for quite a while until, well, obviously he did to me what he did to me, whatever precisely that might be, and the clan is very, very surprised that he hasn't come back and made contact. It was divulged to me that there are apparently greater forces at play. I mean, we already had our suspicions that things were not quite as they seemed, but basically his a different name but same description was given. Also, that this fellow used to be the Kogaon of London before he disappeared, like, what was that, 100 years ago or so? Well, anyway, a good while. And the clan has tasked me, plus at least one or two other Orderdrakul Ventru, to find him, have words with him, and find out what his plans are. Because the fact that I showed up and that he hasn't been in contact, and that what I at least described my dealings with the fellow, they said that was very much out of character for him. They also pointed to that I was most likely embraced for a very specific purpose.
Makes sense.
Apparently, they're pretty much convinced that me and my mortal background and experience, let's put it that way, that the reason I was chosen, and Marcus uses quotation marks, slightly grimacing at that, might actually have been for combating those rather unpleasant nightfowl. Why on earth, though, he'd treat me the way he did and sent me out without any further info or clear purpose is a bit beyond me, but then again, wouldn't be the first venture to slowly lose his marbles. Who knows? Then again, could be purely paranoia, but could also be that maybe I was given a more clear purpose, and a third party had been intercepted me and maybe messed around. I mean, it has already been established that my mind was at least tampered with once. So who's to say it wasn't tampered a little more? Annoying, but very little I can do about it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I thought the effects of Dominate weren't permanent, per se. They have to keep doing it to make it effective.
That's at the lower levels. Let's say if you reach the higher tiers, at least that's what I've been able to gather, you are able to condition people. And at the highest level, you can even take over the body of someone. You can literally possess someone. And Marcus visibly shakes at that. That idea doesn't give him any pleasure whatsoever.
Yeah, Julian has a sour look on his face when you bring that up.
Yeah. Mind you, I'm wont to mention it at the best of times, but you enjoy my trust. So, yes, at the highest level, at least so I've been told, you can possess humans. Ugh. Wow. Even the idea gives me a cold shiver down my undead spine.
I've just always been curious. I've always have a sense of kinship, obviously, with the Ventru, but with the other clans and even with the Gangrel, I've always been, let's just say, a slight anxiety because of that particular ability.
Understandable. Although rumors tell me that your clan is able to do something similar, but instead of humans, do it to beasts.
You know to that. I've heard about it. Subsuming the spirit of an animal is a tricky task, as far as I've been told, at least as the stories go, but it has its uses. But part of me feels like outside of reconnaissance, you'd be better off just taking the form yourself.
Yeah, agreed. That's true. I mean, let's just say somebody with my skill set, it it probably would be highly useful. Would definitely make traversing the day much easier, but ugh. The only way I can I can assure you I am not at that level yet, not by a long shot. But the only way I could see myself doing that is finding someone who'd be willing to, and he puts his hands up again, share or lend it to me for a short while. But I'd only do that if I would find somebody willing to do that. And I would see that I would reimburse them in one way or another. I like my free will. I don't like the idea of so thoroughly robbing someone of their own agency. Out of character, I'm hearing some crackling.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. It has stopped.
How's it now?
Better. And now it's worse. And now it has stopped. Perfect.
Okay.
And as Marcus says that even though his the Lush of Life isn't quite as perfect as it was when he first gained it, at the very least he seems to have the breathing down. He seems to be able to pass himself quite well as a human, and it seems genuine on his part that his body language and facial expressions match his words.
So, outside of, I wouldn't say this as being an errand boy, but maybe getting a direction of your supposed destiny. Anything else?
Well, the task is very simple. Locate him, see if we can establish contact with him, and ascertain what his motivations are. That including if he would like to come back to the Order and not. And I think it goes without saying, if he turns out to have been horrifically compromised by the you-know-whats, to deal with him. The clan definitely wants that dealt with in-house. Should it turn out that he's compromised, I'll be more than happy to put some incendiary bullets in his skull and call it a night. However, if we are able to establish contact, I would like to find out a little bit more about him. If these last months have taught me anything, it's often things are definitely not as they seem, and they tend to be always a bit more complex than I imagined. So, Well, and I guess I've had enough time for my rage against him to abate somewhat.
Doesn't mean he's still not a prick. Just have
Don't get me wrong. If I get a chance, I'll make him I'll make him pay for what he did. But let's just say I'm at least in a mindset that I'm willing for him to have a few words before I start knocking his teeth out.
You know, so that.
I will have my revenge one way or another.
Man,
Nobody messes around with my friends and gets off scot-free. And just a tiny bit of Marcus's beast comes to the surface. You know, it's, how should I say, to use a metaphor, it's as if behind Marcus just you can see the shaggy coat and a bit of a snarl as it then disappears back into a shadow. Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Oh. Also, well, maybe not also, but if things go well with my next particular assignment, I can finally start getting some resources to get this clinic going.
Interesting. Yeah, I've recently had to take a bit of a hit to my resources, but I was finally able to acquire a pet project of mine that I'd wanted to do for ages, and it's finally set up. I'm rather pleased.
Good.
Might be. Sorry.
No, go, please.
If things, yeah. I'm planning on getting an old family, reviving an old family tradition of mine. I'm sure my grandfather would be rather pleased. Yeah, I'm getting into smithing of all things.
See.
Well, since I'm not afraid of fire and it doesn't hurt me as badly as others. And I was also fancying, apart from mastering some mental abilities, I thought mastering a craft would if nothing else, it would exercise my undead body and get it used to a little bit more regular exertion. Who knows, maybe I can agitate the vitae to work its magic.
You know, answer that.
And if nothing else, how many people can say that they have a blade smithed by a vampire? And he gives a rather cheesy grin.
How is Hartwell, if you spoke to him?
Hartwell seems to have established himself quite comfortably in Kingston upon Thames. He seems to be doing well, although I'm curious how long his how long it'll take until his war profiteering will come to bite him in the back.
He raised an eyebrow to that. War profiteering.
Yeah, he's been making noises that he's willing to sell shadow weapons to the Carthians for the right price.
No, we're not necessarily. I guess technically, indirectly, the Ordo are against the Carthians. Just part of them are. But regardless, as long as he doesn't bring grand destruction upon our head, he is technically chasing the tail. We're not supposed to interfere with that.
I'm not planning to. Something I can update you on is I struck a deal with him. he gets access to our worm's nest. He was even so nice to oblige us with creating a crucible there. In exchange, he can use the crucible. We, that being my housemate and I, can use the crucible. Mind you, he didn't specifically say that you couldn't. Then again, what he doesn't know doesn't make him hot, as the Germans like to say.
Until I am out of this bro officially, I am not supposed to be near it.
No problem. But at the very least, I took the liberty of filling one of the rooms with empty boxes. Oh my! Oh. Yeah. And another night in London. Some things never change. But yes, sorry, back to thing. Gotcha. But let's just say surreptitiously, I've made sure that at least one room is not filled to the brim with anything that can't be easily taken care of. But yes, if you manage to get yourself back into the good graces, yeah, took the liberty of keeping one of the rooms free for you.
So I appreciate that.
But okay, understood. So for the moment, it's off bounds for you, but yeah, if you keep up the good work, that soon you'll be able to benefit. In exchange, Hartwell was so nice, and Marcus pulls his sleeve back, and you can see what almost looks like an obsidian bracelet around his wrist, and he does a flick, and it transforms into the shadow blade that Julian has seen on occasion. And then he flicks it again, and it goes back into its bracelet form. He was willing to do a modification.
Useful with that.
It's easier to walk into Elysium with that. Less difficult to explain it to the keeper. He gives Julian a wink.
I doubt it, but I'm assuming it gets past mortal defenses. I assume it does. Bah.
No alarm has gone off so far. Yeah. And I took the liberty of getting a person who is very near and dear to me a shadow weapon as well. So far it's working, but apart from that, I'm trying to keep a healthy associative distance between Hartwell and myself, just in case things blow up in his face, that I can go like, what? Yeah, we were covenant mates. I scratched his back once and he scratched my back, and that was it. Plausible deniability and all that jazz.
Well, for now, I was like, I will. So now I'll give Hartwell a benefit of the doubt, and if anything were to go wrong, if the order doesn't deal with it, I'm sure his sire will hear about it.
Oh, definitely. Wouldn't want to get on Constantine's bad side, that's for sure.
And also, I was going to ask you, outside, once we move the body and when we get another chance, this might be a good time to cash in our favor from the previous keeper.
What did you have in mind?
I'm honestly not that sure, but if anything, I would be appreciative of their occult knowledge. It will help. It will help me with my research. And as far as history has told me about the Ordo, the coils are supposed to be a variation of not only on the blood sorcery of the Chrome, but also the blood sorcery of the Lankea.
Yeah, because let's face it, if we're really honest with ourselves, apart from the window dressing, I'm sure they believe that their powers come from an external source, but we know it better. It comes from the blood. The very fact that I can do what I do is probably a form of blood sorcery. Any gangrel that can transform himself into an animal, that's probably a form of thaumaturgy or blood sorcery. Our abilities are, by their very nature, not classically physical, but of a metaphysical bent. So we are creatures of blood sorcery, love it or hate it. That's how I see it.
Indeed, but they'll both argue till the cows come home whether or not it should be a thing from their, well, I guess in both cases, from either their gods or their demons. Regardless, our intent is to make sure that ourselves is what the sorcery comes out of, not something else.
Yeah. Well, it's either that, or if they are able to draw from external sources, it still needs a medium. Although I'm pretty much convinced that all of it is internal. But as you pointed out, so you could probably stick a crone, an Order Dracul, and a Lankea in a room with a magical supply of blood until the end of time, and they'll probably never agree. So that be that. But yes.
And other than that, things have been going relatively well. So,
yeah, can't complain. My forge is up and working. My child seems to be doing okay for herself so far.
good.
The people around me are doing well. Rusty, as you can see, is live and kicking, fully grown now. Aren't you, you big dafty? And he gives the dog a little bit of a noogie, but Rusty doesn't seem to mind. Yeah, and so far the mysteries haven't been falling in front of my door and giving me a lot of work to do. As far as I'm concerned, that's fine with me. I've got enough research and other things to take care of. Plus, I'll probably have to double check my gear, get into contact with my fellow Ordo Ventru, and see what we can do. Now, the only thing I'm not 100% sure of is if we two should first do our little mission before, maybe use it as, if nothing else, use it as a recovery and slide to reconnaissance mission. And then with the information gathered, I then gather my fellow venturer and we take care of business.
He nods to that. So,
You think that's a foolish idea, or do you think the risk could be justified?
seems like a good plan as any. The main thing is we don't want to be too caught up in our thoughts. We got to make a move eventually.
Yeah. if nothing else, that wood was a good deal away from his haven. I mean, it could well be that when we get there, the building might be deserted. Possibilities perfectly. But what I've heard is that, that former leader of the Ordo was very well respected and thought of as rather competent and smart. So I'd be really surprised if we'd still find him there. And if I were to see light, I'd most likely first make sure that we get the remains away. It won't be difficult for me to organize the firewood and gasoline. I've already got a very nice remote spot inside where we can do the cremation. That was Harry's wish. That his body be given to the flames, so that his, how did he put it? That his spirit could rise up into the heavens where he belongs.
Will do.
Yeah. As far as the ashes go, he didn't specify anything, so I'll decide on the spot. Just, I mean, normally I just put them in the urn, put them in a respective place, and let it be. But then again, maquette. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I like the idea of anyone who could tampering with his ashes.
Well, I doubt anybody's really going to want to go digging for his ashes, especially once you bury them.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, actually, that's a very good point you raise. Yeah, once that's taken care of, I'll make sure the urn and the ashes are properly buried. I mean, at least as far as he believed things work at that point, it's literally just only physical material. Yeah, good point. Good point. So that's that. Otherwise, I'm happy to say I've not had any encounters with the winged beasties. Those goddamn shit gibbons. They've been smart enough to leave me alone.
Good. But
Cool. So how has your excuse the term governess been treating you?
no different than she usually does.
Let me guess, being a total hard ass.
That's typically her MO.
But I take it she hasn't been forcibly feeding you her vitae or anything in that direction.
Nope, she preferably just kill me and replace me. It's less work that way.
Jeepers. If it ever comes to that, let her know that I'd be interested in in taking you off her hands.
She's not big about just letting things go.
It is what it is, but I'm happy to hear that you're making headway. Still don't know how I can really help you with the whole, wanted dead or alive thing, but I guess we'll figure something out eventually.
Yeah, I'll need to work on that. Can't ignore it.
Nah, but one thing after another. I guess if worst comes to the worst, I could try and focus on increasing my dominate.
Just because you remove the wanted poster on my head doesn't mean the people that were still hurt by my actions won't remember.
No, that is something you have to. That's something you have to come to peace with yourself.
Main thing is you keep staying low, and over time, like in many things, the pain of it will go away.
Yeah. I mean, only. It's a good saying, but can be taken the wrong way with our kind of people. Only dead things hold on forever, grasp, and never move on. Then again, we are not dead. We're undead. A small but fine difference I'd like to point out. And we even tick most of the boxes for a living thing, just not all of them.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't want to bring you down, but if it is any if it is any consolation, even though I never thought I would find a way, I found a way to make recompense for something I did back in the day, and I am more at peace for it, for having done it. There is hope. It might seem slim and hard to hold on to at times, but there are few things in this world that can't be redeemed. As long as one has the willingness to do it.
Yeah. For now, Marcus, I need to get some of this paperwork done for my report.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. He does another snap of his fingers, and Rusty stands to attention. Well, yeah. Things are as they are. Good luck, good fortune, and don't forget, who dares wins. And he'll actually move over and, not giving a damn, give Julian a bro hug.
Yeah, he'll return the gesture.
Don't forget, I have your back, bro.
So do I. You have a good night, Marcus.
Thank you. I'll inform you once I've got everything together for the Operation Resurrectionist. And with that, he grabs his stuff, he puts Rusty on the leash, and he gives a nod before heading out and disappearing into the night. Any last words before we wrap up the scene?
Nope.
Just a sec, my mini cam is playing up a little bit. There we go. But yes, with that, I merely want to say thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This was another session of Chronicles of Darkness, Vampire the Requiem, Requiem for London. See you next time.